One of the things that I've noticed in one freaking session of doing lube bends is that my core is slimmer. Now think about that for a second, man. I did one freaking session of lube bends, and the day before that I did some side planks. But think about this. The lube bends absolutely killed me. I feel like the lube bends resembled me getting attacked by a bunch of dudes and they all kicked the crap out of my sides, right? So one session of lube bends, and for the last day and a half, I guess, I've been walking around with a flatter stomach. Now think about that. So what's happening there? I haven't lost fat. It's impossible to lose that much fat in a day or two or whatever. What's happening there is that the muscles, which I think, the muscles that are involved on the side, the obliques, the external obliques, transverse abdominis, I guess, rectus abdominis, all these kind of muscles, especially the lateral stuff, right? The obliques. I reckon there is more tone in those muscles now. Now, tone is like a term used by, first dayers in the gym. What do you want to do? I want to tone up a little bit. In medicine, tone doesn't mean, getting shredded. Tone just means how active a muscle is, right? Tonicity. So if a muscle has poor tone, it's kind of relaxed. If it has high tone, it's tight, right? It's firm. There's activation there. So when you do an exercise like the lube bends, and you feel like your core has been sucked in, what is happening there? What's happening there is there's more tone to the obliques. They've been turned on. Your nervous system is like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of muscles here. We can turn these guys on. That's what's happened. So I'm walking around like all flat stomached and whatever. Like I'm not actually engaging these muscles. I'm just walking around. I'm like feeling myself. I'm like, damn, man, I feel like more rigid. Like I feel like, if somebody punched me now in the stomach, I'll be kind of more protected. I'll be less likely to get winded because these muscles are kind of like half turned on. Really interesting, right? Because what did Vukashansky and Zaitotsky, Kramer, what did I hear them say to me? They said that the internal and external obliques are responsible for abdominal, intra-abdominal pressure. Here I am walking around, I'm feeling those actual effects, just walking around without even engaging. So how interesting is that? One freaking day of training your obliques, and all of a sudden you're just walking around with an increased abdominal pressure. So if you just say to yourself, let's just go bonkers for 6 months, smashing the hell out of my obliques, where is that going to end you up? You know what I mean? Like you can see a linear translation between doing obliques and having a bigger squat. Because, why do we put belts on? I mean, I don't put belts on. I've never put a belt on. But why do we put belts on? To increase the abdominal pressure. Why is that? Well, basically, you wrap the muscles up, with a belt, and you tighten that guy up fully. And so all the structures within the abdominal cavity are just bunched up together, and that kind of provides rigidity to the spinal cord, which is kind of exposed in the human system, right? If you go from the top, like basically the most vulnerable positions of our spine is the C-spine, the cervical spine, right? So, or cervical spine, whichever you want to call it. There's 2 spots of cervical. There's one for women and there's one in the neck, right? Anyway, so there's the C-spine and then there's the lumbar spine. And both of those guys are kind of just in the open. The thoracic spine is basically, protected by the ribs. There's kind of more rigidity there. And the sacrum is kind of, in the pelvis, whatever, like it's protected. So when we're lifting, we're not lifting with our C-spine, so that's kind of not a weight-bearing thing. But the lumbar spine is the most vulnerable. So if we can kind of anteriorly pack our organs, pack all of that stuff interiorly and protect the lumbar spine from the front, and then you got those big juicy erectors from the back, sides, obliques, everything's kind of wrapped up. All of a sudden, the spinal cord sounds more protected. And as you guys already know, the number one role of the human being is preservation. They just want to, survive. We want to survive. And so the nervous system is like, okay, we have the ability to innervate these muscles really, really hard. But we don't want to because of fear of injury. So the body is always getting sensory feedback from all these structures in our body. If the body senses that there is a weakness in the lower back, there is a weakness and a structural integrity problem in your lower back while you're lifting, it just basically turns down the energy that it's sending through the nerves and your muscles lift less. Simple as that. But if we can insulate the hell out of that lumbar spine, and those nerves that are passing through the lower back are like, wow, this is a really, really tight joint, man. Like, there's a lot of security here. Let's just send more fire through here because, we can support this. All of a sudden, you're lifting more on the bar, right? So you need to basically make a deal with your body. Make a deal with your body that your lumbar spine is jacked fully, is fully insulated. There's pillows everywhere. It's really, really tight, and there's no chance of injury. So it's kind of like a deal. You tell your nervous system, we're all good down here, man. Don't worry. Send the full army down here and let's do the work. And it happens. So basically, you can put a belt on. That's fine. I've got no problems with that. But even if you're using a belt, you have benefits there if you just juice up those muscles, all of the muscles that are kind of involved, and you have a better relationship with the musculature in your kind of abdomen region, which is going to support your lower back. That's basically kind of my thinking behind core. You saw me do sit-ups. Now you're seeing me do these decline sit-ups. The thought behind that was I just wanted to kind of make a bit more intensity out of these sit-ups. And I really kind of wanted to extend the range of motion, just a fraction. So there's a bit more, at the top, a bit more tension at the top. Well, what I found was that I wasn't really happy with it. So at the bottom, you saw that I was cutting range of motion there. So I was kind of in the same position anyway. The reason I was cutting range of motion at the end is because I was having difficulty maintaining that posterior pelvic tilt. My body just kept wanting to kind of roll into anterior pelvic tilt. And that makes sense, right? Because as you can see there, my hip flexors are very, very active in that position. It's kind of like a half bend of a knee. And I just felt my hip flexors pulling my spine up like nobody's business. And because they're strong, they're pulling my lower back, and my abs are not strong enough to kind of counter that pull. And what happens is I arch my back, and that's just a shit fest. Yeah, I mean, that is not productive for what I was trying to do. I ended up doing 3 sets of 10 with that. I kind of experimented, and basically I concluded that's not a keeper. I'm not going to do decline sit-ups. It's very hard for me to maintain the right pelvic position. So I'm going to scrap that. Anyway, so straight into squats. I ended up sprinting up through the squats. Spending very little time squatting nowadays. These 5 o'clock sessions are basically very hard for me to get any sort of volume. There's not enough time, and especially now that I'm doing a whole lot of time with core work. Basically, the squat is kind of just a sprint up. So this whole thing took me like, I think, 20 minutes or something, 10 minutes, probably 15, 20 minutes. Bar for 10, 60 for 10, 100 for 10, 140, 160, 180 for 1, and that was basically it. And what I found was that when I'm doing these core exercises ahead of squatting, like right now, like basically my sides are sore. I don't want to lie to you. I just said to you that your obliques are paramount for intra-abdominal pressure. Well, every rep I felt my obliques. So if I was to kind of tense I just did it. If I just tense my core, from all sides, I just feel like pain on the side. So if you're trying to lift heavy ass weight, you're not supposed to be feeling pain in the trunk, because pain is kind of like a negative feedback in a way. It's telling the body, all right, something's wrong here. Let's not send the full electricity down, basically. So it's kind of like you're always kind of trying to trick your body to kind of send more CNS drive. Not trick it. You want to kind of convince your body that it's okay to send fire into your muscles because we're all right. The spine is protected. We're protected. There's no chance of injury. So it's in your best interest to work your core. Like sometimes I have these kind of moments in my thinking where I'm like, what if, man? What if I had this epiphany? What if I had this kind of thought cross my mind 5 years ago? Where would I be right now if I just went absolutely nuts on core? If I could do the human flag, if I could do, all these, crazy core exercises like rollouts from your feet, with the ab wheel. What if I was just like a gun in core? Now, I'm not saying that my core is, piss weak, because I can squat a decent amount of weight. But I'm just thinking to myself, what if I really, really went after it? Well, I'm not going to wonder anymore because I'm going to get after it now. We're having some discussions in the comments about this. It's not sexy work, man. When I was a youngster, I'm like, man, I've got a 6-pack already, man. Why should I train the core? I was a skinny dude, like 65 kilo guy playing basketball, 70 kilo guy. By the way, this is 180. kind of happy how this moved, even though I was kind of not feeling the best, the most ready to squat this. Yeah, it was alright, whatever. So when I was a youngster, I always had a six pack. I'm like, there's no point training this. I want some shoulders and some legs and chest and whatever. So I did that. But you know, as we know, having a six pack means nothing. You know, in terms of strength. There's so much going on in the core than just visible abs. Visible abs is just a reflection of whatever, sub 15%, sub 12% body fat. That's all that really means. We all have a six pack. Even the big lady that you see walking down the street, she's got a six pack. Is just hidden behind all that fat. Anyway, all I'm thinking about nowadays is core. Want to get it? What I really want to get it jacked. I really want to get it as strong as possible, and I just want to test this thing out to see whether it has what sort of effect it has over the squat, because ultimately my goal is to squat 300. All right, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Let me get the hell out of here and go to work and some money. See you guys. Peace out.